My name is Anna Garcia. We're here at the National Conference of Catholic Charities USA. We're going to talk about social enterprise, and social enterprise is about programs that generate revenue, provide jobs, and job training. And it's a wonderful new enterprise that Catholic Charities has taken on individually in states across the country. In fact, it is now $7 million across 12 states. And on our panel today, we have the President of Catholic Charities USA, Father Larry Snyder. Thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
It's wonderful to have you here. Angel Gutierrez from Chicago. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Katie Hanners from Fort Worth. Thanks for being here. Mike Allen from West Tennessee. Thank you. And Mr. Lynch, your first name again?
Kevin.
Kevin Lynch. Thank you very much. All right, so we're first going to start with Father, and we're going to talk about this concept of social enterprise and how it's fitting in with your vision of what's happening in the United States.
Okay. Well, I think when we look at social enterprise, social innovation, it's one of those things that is going to redefine the nonprofit sector. At this point in the nonprofit sector, we have these traditional funding sources of either government or private funding, doing programs that fulfill a particular need in a community, usually being direct service, direct aid, and social enterprise takes us to a different level. It takes us to the level of not only providing a new funding source, but of redesigning programs in a way that also incorporates the people that we're serving in a very different way, as partners, if you will, because in the programs that we have, they become the folks who actually do the work, are the experts, and we are the conduit. We provide the context for them to do that. And it's a context that can actually raise money, which is a wonderful thing. And I'm not going to say that I know practically much about it, because these folks on the panel are the ones who have actually done it and are doing incredible things. They're very creative. That's the other piece. You have to be very creative, and you have to be willing to take a risk. Those elements are here. So let me just say, though, what Catholic Charities USA's role might be here is to support our member agencies in this endeavor. And we have some agencies who are out there, they're leading the pack, they've done some amazing things. Other agencies that are designing business plans, which you have to do before you jump into this. And then other agencies that are just starting to think about it. So what we have done, aside from trying to bring this up as something that all agencies should consider, is work with our alliance at the University of Notre Dame to establish a social innovation boot camp. And it's a 1-week, very intensive camp for people who already have an idea that's fairly well developed. And what they do there is work on a business plan. At the end of the week, you actually then have to present that to a panel of entrepreneurs. And a couple of you have done that already, and I think it's been something that has really enhanced what you then go to the marketplace with. So that's something. My concern right now is we're going to do that every year. And this year we had, I believe, 9 agencies who were phenomenal. And so next year we'll have the same. But it's, what about the agencies that have the concept but need to get it to the point where they're ready to go to the boot camp? And that was the intent of this morning's session on social entrepreneurship. And it's to help you see these are the steps that we have to take. So what do I see Catholic Charities USA's role is to support you in that process. It's to also then publicize the success stories that we already have in the network. So you're going to hear us constantly talking about these things. But to me, it is, again, it's an opportunity for us as to be leaders in the nonprofit field. My goal, I've always said, is that Catholic Charities should be the preeminent network and the preeminent organization in the United States. Being creative and really working at these things, I think, really helps us fulfill that goal.
Father, don't you think that this really plays to the strength of all of the social programs that Catholic Charities already has in place? It builds on that strength?
Totally. We have such a great foundation and experience about actually working with people in need in this country. We understand people who live in poverty. Too often we have this kind of dichotomy where you have academics who work here and they talk all about, well, this is the way we should design programs, and then you get us, who are the practitioners, who are out here, who really know what's going on. So I think what this does is we have certain needs as practitioners. In social work school, they don't teach you how to write a business plan usually. So what we need is the input from all these other folks that kind of brings together the skills that working on our own we don't have. So it is that marriage that builds on our foundation but brings in the business skills that you need to move it forward.
All right. Thank you. I like to call it Shark Tank, Shark Tank for Catholic Charities and for social issues, because it's about incubating these brilliant ideas and programs, nurturing them, helping people get jobs, training them along the way, and making money to not only sustain that program, but other programs. So in that way, it's brilliant. It's really brilliant, and I really applaud the work that you're doing in this, because I think it's so innovative. So Angel works in Chicago, and yesterday we were chatting about how your CRISP program works, which I love. It's essentially a food truck, a delivery food truck system, far more than that, but I'm just setting it up that way. Tell us how long you've been doing it and how it works.
Excellent.
Thank you. CRISP is a mobile grocer, and our target is food deserts. In Chicago, there's 29 food deserts where the mothers with children, seniors don't have access to healthy food in a variety of different ways. We've been doing CRISP as a mobile grocer since June, and prior to that we started off as a mobile farmers market. And as we we had a pretty brutal winter last year in Chicago, and we were trying to pivot and change our plan and became more of, as clients we were delivering fruits and vegetables to clients. Clients said, you know what, we need milk, meat, cereal, and all those other items. And we said, I think that we can do this as well. So those are some of the things that we're doing.
May I ask you, so how does someone contact you, or how do you have set days in the community? Do I set up an appointment? Do you take money? Do you credit? How do you do that?
So the beauty of it's an online platform. So we have a website, chrisgrocer.com, and clients can order through there. They can order using their telephones, their mobile app as well, and they can pay via cash, credit, and the one thing that CRISP does, it accepts SNAP. It's one of the only online grocers who accepts currently SNAP, which is the Special Nutrition Assistance Program, formerly known as food stamps. And our clients, we're in the community doing outreach in many of the different places. Catholic Charities provides different programs in a lot of these food desert areas. So we have outreach workers, we have a sales team that go into these buildings and talk to seniors, talk to moms with children as well.
I think it's brilliant. I really am. It's like taking a food delivery system and getting it right to the people who need it without the middleman. And it's a brilliant business proposition, I think. I'm curious, what's the reaction in the community, either from other grocers or, businesses that might think you're the competition?
It actually hasn't, since we've been doing this really for 3 months, we haven't experienced a lot of that. And in many of the communities, again, that we're serving, there is no established grocer. There's an Angel Food and Liquor Mart. There is a fast food restaurant. So that's where folks are actually going to buy their foods, both healthy and non-healthy items. So we haven't had that backlash just yet. And in many cases, we partner with our vendors who are selling us products so that we can sell to the consumer at everyday low prices.
I love it. You sound like a grocer at everyday low prices. I can see the commercial now.
He's a grocer.
Thank you. So, Katie, in the Fort Worth area, you've got 2 programs that are working with the folks who you're always helping, and I'm fascinated by this. You've got women that you put to work, using their talents at knitting and crocheting. And then you've also got another program that has to do with getting people to help work as interpreters, which I think is brilliant. Could you tell us about both those programs?
Thank you. Yes, so we have two social enterprises currently at Catholic Charities Fort Worth. The first is TIN, that stands for Translation and Interpretation Network. We started this business in 1999 as a traditional social service program, and in 2006 we decided to go ahead and transfer our business operations into a true business and run it as a social enterprise. We hire about 75% of our contract interpreters are former refugees or immigrants who have been served by Catholic Charities or other community agencies. So we offer them a great opportunity for employment. This is significantly higher than a living wage, and a lot of people are able to work full-time. In fact, about 40% of our contract interpreters right now are working a full-time equivalent job. We work with area school districts, we work with hospitals, we work with general business, governments, court systems, and we go into their organizations and provide face-to-face interpretation services. And we were able to build this business model based on the fact that Title VI says that if you're receiving federal funding, then you must make a reasonable effort to provide interpretation services to your clients. So we also go out and provide a great deal of education and advocacy on the importance of language access and the importance of Title VI in our community. Our second program is newer, and it is called Warn for Peace. We have been doing Warn for just 3 years. What we do with Warn is we hire refugee women who have been resettled in our community, and we allow them to use a skill of knitting or crocheting that they already had to develop products that we then go out and market and sell in the retail market. We have about 47 women right now who are knitting for us. They knit at various amounts of workload, so they're able to really do it to fit their lifestyle. Most of our refugee women have significant barriers to employment, whether it's education or transportation or childcare. So we have some women who want to knit for us, 2 products a week. We have some women who want to knit 10. So it really varies depending on the woman, and we give them the flexibility to do that. We started doing hand knit scarves, and we really focused on the infinity scarf. And in the last 3 years, we've made several changes to our product line to really offer the products that the customer needs. So we now do women's jewelry, we do boot cuffs that I'm wearing today.
I think I saw those on Shark Tank.
Are they awesome? We do home goods. That's our most recent line is our home goods. So we have placemats and coasters and pillows for sale. And then our largest line of business at this time is the hand knit baby products. So we do hats and booties and blankets and bibs and whatnot.
I love it.
Thank you. Thank you. That's really wonderful. You've had one program that you've had for a really long time, and then this other one that's taking off in a totally different way. One is a product-based service, and the other one is a service. That's brilliant. I love that. I really do. Okay, so Mike in West Tennessee has come up with a new program. Now, Mike has great experience as far as building an online business. So you came to the table with a lot of skills that maybe others don't. And your program is called Bouquets of Hope, and it's all about repurposing flowers. It's a very green program. I want to hear about how it works, who you help, and who's being trained.
Thank you. So yes, we have a program, it's called Bouquets of Hope. So you get married, right? And what happens to all the pretty flowers that are on your tables at the dinner afterwards? The bride and groom leave, maybe grandma takes a bouquet home, maybe she doesn't. What generally happens is they get tossed. So our program, we send the volunteers out after the wedding, we reclaim the flowers, typically on a Saturday night, and on Monday morning we get a bunch of volunteers and one professional flower designer that comes into our office, and by 9 o'clock they're starting to deconstruct flowers, and by 1 o'clock they're being delivered to patients in nursing homes and hospitals and hospice locations. So it is green. It works with volunteers, and we have had so far 2 of our kind of hard to employ clients, a resident of one of our homeless shelters and a former veteran. And just last week, the veteran got a job with one of our local florists. So it's already, I think, proving itself to be a good jobs training program. So you're asking, okay, but where's the social enterprise part of it? So what we do is we take the leftover part, and if anyone a year ago had said I was going to start talking about leftover flour byproducts, I'm quickly becoming an expert in potpourri, sachets, and but that's what we do. We take the extra parts, you know, and through the same volunteers and our employees, or our hard-to-employ clients rather, we create these potpourri packs and sachets and dried flour arrangements, and then we're selling them. And we sell them through some of the same florists who partner with us, with the brides. And we also sell them through local farmers markets, and we anticipate here in the fall at parishes, at parish festivals and things like that. So that's basically the gist of the program.
I love it. Are you available online?
We will be, the sachets and the
Oh, you will be selling
We
online.
will.
That's brilliant. Great. So Kevin Lynch is actually the person who figures out and determines and helps work with groups to figure out how to build this. How do you do it? You've come up with the ideas, but Kevin is the guy who's going to help you implement it and figure out how you're going to do it. So my question to you is, how do you do it? How do you take a nugget of an idea and then actually monetize it, build a business plan, and do all that? So you're all going to have to help me and pass that down.
Well, you're too kind to say that I actually tell people how to do it. I lead an organization called Social Enterprise Alliance, which is a membership association for social enterprises across the United States, and many of the Catholic Charities agencies, excuse me, are part of SEA. So how we do that is we spread knowledge by having knowledge products and convenings and summits and resources on our website that really tell people how to do that. But if the question is like, how does a Catholic charity actually go about doing it, I think the real trick is to find the nugget within the Catholic charity, something that you already do well that actually has the potential to become a business, and then apply a kind of a paradox thinking to it where you start making mission decisions through a business lens and business decisions through a mission lens, and really apply the principles of entrepreneurship that you would use to start any business, but to do it in the context of building a business whose purpose is the common good. And I think that goes to a bigger idea, excuse me, really of changing the way the economy works, which is consistent with the social teachings of the church, which are about creating an economy that works for all. So what Mike and Katie and Angel are all doing is starting really cool businesses that, if you looked at them purely as businesses, are doing a great job as businesses, but putting the purpose of those businesses at the service of people and humanity, not just at the service of shareholders.
You can keep the microphone because I have a question for you. So here you are, you're trying to help really social services agencies, nonprofits, think like a business, like you said, that lens. Tell me how that process works. Is it challenging, or sometimes does it go like this?
No, it's challenging mostly. Every now and then there's an aha moment, but those are separated by miles and miles of hard work. Sort of the context that an agency tries to think about this in is I don't know quite how to say it. I just did a 2-hour seminar where it took me 2 hours to try to explain it. It's the concept of how do you balance mission and margin in every decision that you make. And so if you look at businesses in general in the world, 4 out of 5 businesses that are started are going to fail. And they fail because they did a poor job on operations, or they didn't manage their cash, or they didn't have sufficient marketing, or they had poor leadership. So it would stand to reason that the failure rate, if the failure rate for businesses as a whole is high, then the failure rate for social enterprises could be high as well, and there's plenty of them that don't work. On top of that, there's things that a social enterprise can do wrong that has to do with like having unwarranted optimism and faith that the mission will overcome reality and all of these things. So there's some other things that can trip up a social enterprise, but there's also some things that are unique to a social enterprise that it can do that a traditional business can't do. So the formula is really like to do the right things that a business does, to avoid the traps that a social enterprise can fall into, and then to seize on these points of leverage that are only available to a social enterprise that aren't available to a traditional business.
Thank you. Thank you.
So this is for Father. When you hear the individual programs that are working and why they're working, and you hear the niche that it fills, is this what you envisioned how this would work?
Exactly, exactly. And I think, as I said before, is that combination of creativity and risk that you have to be willing to do. When you look at the different programs that, again, I've become aware of throughout Catholic Charities, they cover everything. So it's not like, okay, these are the programs that work. Anything. This past August at Notre Dame, 2 of our agencies actually had programs where they were developing maintenance services. And, you know, we have hard to employ folks who are more than willing to do maintenance work, but they may have something in their past that stops them from getting hired, and they need somebody to be able to give them that chance that can vouch for them then. But anyway, all of our Catholic Charities agencies have how many buildings? You know, so you need maintenance services anyway. It's a budget item for you. Mm-hmm. So to take that need, use the money you're already putting into it, and actually train people in a way that also teaches them the social skills necessary to be out working in the public and doing these things. You know, there's all kinds of ideas like that are out there that I think our agencies are just going to keep coming up with more and more. And could I, Oprah, could I make one little plug here too? And that is that every summer, the Jago Institute, the Jago School for Social Enterprise at Notre Dame does a contest for social enterprise projects to see who is the most creative, who's been the most dynamic, and that. And so they had this contest this year, and CRISP won it. And I just think, we didn't mention that for Angel, but I think that's a wonderful affirmation of the work that you put into it. And it's a lesson for all of us that it can be done. So congratulations, Angel.
Yeah, that's great.
So Katie, I was talking to someone else from Fort Worth, and you have a program there that I just thought was, wow, that's so smart. You don't have a lot of transportation for people who have jobs. So Catholic Charities there provides the transportation to get people to work and back. So it keeps them employed, and it doesn't take money out of their pocket, and you continue to keep the workforce going. So those kind of innovative programs, like I wonder, Kevin, a program like that already exists, but it's volunteerism, is there a money-making component to that? I wonder, is that an area where you could look at it and say, maybe we could monetize that?
I'm just curious. A conversation between the two of you.
Well, knowing Katie, she's probably already figured out how to do that. Anything I could say, but that's a great example of taking a hidden asset and figuring out how to monetize it. So the first thing that comes to mind is that there's other, and I've heard of other social enterprises that do this, there's other payers like in Minnesota would be called Metro Mobility who supply a marketplace need for people with disabilities, for example, and that same expertise could be used for that. Or maybe they could all become Uber drivers in between shifts, taking people, in between taking people to job, they could drive for Uber and create revenue through that. So it's just limited by the imagination, but I had never heard that specific idea, but just there's a couple of ways that it could be taken to market.
Katie, what do you think?
Well, absolutely. So at Fort Worth, one of the things that we really try to focus on is looking at our internal assets before we develop a social enterprise. That's, of course, one of the reasons why 10 was such a huge success for us and continues to be today, is we had that expertise and we built upon it. The transportation program is a relatively new program for us, And although I think it definitely has social enterprise components to it, one of the things that Catholic Charities thinks is very important, and I agree, is to really build that infrastructure and make certain we can run it appropriately as a social service program first. We are helping them though, because the cost of cars are extremely expensive. So to keep up with their fleet, they have to put a lot of money in the budget each year for capital. So the social enterprise team, which has an expertise in sales, is going out and making sales in the community for advertising on our vehicles.
There you go.
So it's a little bit different approach on a program, so that's why we don't typically mention it as one of our social enterprises, but we do have vehicles now that have decals on them with the name of companies in our community. We're also in the process of looking at a new potential program for 2015, and it's taking the expertise that we already have in a very strong immigration program and looking how we can be competitive on the workforce visa side of immigration. It's not an area we've worked in before, and right now individuals who need visas for their employees or for religious institutions, they go to attorneys in the community. Well, we have attorneys on staff and we have the expertise since we've run a great program for years. So that's probably the next one you'll see come down the pipeline.
Wow. And so Angel, as the winner here of the social enterprise programs, how do you view any feedback that you've gotten about your program, or people asking you, oh my gosh, how did you do that? I want to do this. We have this need. Because every major city in the United States is going to have this problem. Areas where people don't have access to grocery stores.
Well, I think first and foremost, we look at, again, our internal assets. So Catholic Charities in Chicago provides an array of food and nutrition programs. So we build on that infrastructure, but also looking at when you come to a conference. So Father Larry spoke about the Notre Dame Institute. We had our business plan. We thought we had a great business plan, considering that we had launched in June, and at the Institute we learned some things that we needed to change and stuff. So I think that's the one piece. Kevin talked earlier about being nimble, right? You have to be nimble. You have to pay attention to things that you normally don't. You have to pay attention to cash and inventory, cash flow, all those types of things. So being able to do that allows us to do that. And I think you're right, there are some unique opportunities. But the reason that food deserts exist is because grocery businesses only make between 2 to 3% in those particular communities, which is why they leave, because they're paying for all the space that a big box may have. And we take that out of it.
Father, don't you think that these innovative programs really show how Catholic Charities is really ahead of its time and current and fresh? It's like another way of looking at Catholic Charities?
I'm probably a bit biased. Kevin could probably rate us as far as other organizations across the United States. But as I see it, I think it's something, you look at our history of Catholic Charities, we have stepped up over and over again to meet the needs with creativity throughout our history. And to me, this is just one more example of us trying to be at the cusp or ahead of the curve. And again, the great thing about being in a network like this is not all of us can be on the cusp. And but what we can do is learn from our fellow network agencies at what they're doing. And there's not one agency that's on the cusp in everything. It's so that we kind of take our strengths and do what we can with it, but then in the network we can share. And that's something we can all learn from each other about. And what I love about Catholic Charities too, if somebody's sitting out there with an idea, they can call up Catholic Charities of Fort Worth or West Tennessee or Chicago and say, can we come for a couple of days and talk to your people and just look at what you're doing and then have you look at what we're thinking about? And you don't pay for that. That's free advice, learning from each other. And again, I think that's what really makes us strong and gives us the added advantage.
Thank you.
Mike, I have a question for you because of your business background. Do you think that it's a good marriage, the business background and then that heartfelt do-gooding attitude that comes with, oh, it's all right if we don't make that much on this. It's okay because we're doing good. I'd like to hear your perspective on that.
Yeah, I actually think it's critical, and Father talked about it in his first early comments. You know, the landscape for revenue sources for us as nonprofits is changing rapidly. And I think we have to adopt different models that allow us to broaden the different areas and the different places where we get our revenues. So I think this is a perfect component of it. It's not the only answer, it never will be, but it's a perfect piece of what I think our future is. I might add one other thing. You know, this is our particular program has been a great way to involve our board, particularly the members of our board who come from the business community. You know, they've gotten excited about the idea of something that's entrepreneurial. And so we've gotten a lot of ideas and a lot of resources from them. And then it's had tremendous awareness. Our particular one, the media has found it to be an interesting story to talk about, which we like, and that helps our broader message. And it's increased already our volunteers, and in particular younger volunteers. We've always been good with the 50 and 60-year-old volunteers, and we've been pretty good with school kids, but everyone in the middle we've missed. And we're getting, you know, 25, 35-year-old volunteers coming and doing this and thinking it's a really neat thing. So,
Could you pass the mic to Kevin? So Kevin, when you look at the landscape of the different agencies, because you've worked with so many of them and how they're doing it, how is Catholic Charities working in this space in their unique style?
Well, a couple of things. One of them is Catholic Charities around the U.S. They have facilities. And in those facilities, they have a lot of existing operations that are creating expertise. So most of the projects and the enterprises that are bubbling up from within Catholic Charities are ones that are building on an existing asset or an existing set of relationships with the community or with people in need, which a lot of other organizations, if they're starting from scratch, they certainly might not have those assets in their own agencies and certainly don't have the network that the Catholic Charities has. So that's unique. Somebody on Catholic Charities task, or on some Catholic Charities team, Maria Gonzalez is tasked as a significant part of her job with working with Catholic Charities, and so she's very involved with the work that they're doing with Notre Dame and creating a network of social enterprises within Catholic Charities. So they're actually putting some skin in the game from the headquarters perspective to try to build this. And then really their relationship with my organization, Social Enterprise Alliance, is a pretty unique relationship. We have a few partners that do the same thing, but they're very significant as a partner. So they've chosen to work with Social Enterprise Alliance to make membership available to all the Catholic Charities at a very reasonable price. They're kind enough to invite me to some of their events to speak about social enterprise and to try to spread the good news about it and spread some expertise about it. So they're making an investment from a Catholic Charities perspective in the relationship with my organization, with the idea that it'll help everybody in Catholic Charities become more adept and familiar and consider the possibility of doing this.
And while you have the microphone, I'd love each of you to give us your closing thoughts on what you think about social enterprise and what you think might be the future, or what it is that you love about it that's working.
Right. Well, I mean, I actually love it because it connects with what my faith informs me the economy should be about. And I've been working in business all my life, so I love how business works and the process of doing business, but I'm not terribly crazy about the outcomes of businesses a lot of the time. And working in social enterprise really connects me, allows me to use the skill that I have in a way that I think is consistent with my faith.
Wonderful. Mike?
I like it because it's fun. I'm serious. It's the funnest thing we do. It's very creative, as Father said earlier. It allows us to do some things differently. You know, a lot of the parts of our work is difficult, and we don't see a lot of smiles. And again, for our particular effort with the Flower Initiative, you know, we say we deliver smiles, and so it's a fun thing to do. If you do it, have fun with it.
My reason is a combination of both of yours. I have a business background as well, and I have 2 children, and as a mother, going back to work was a big decision for me, and I wanted to go back to work and do something that I felt called to do and that I loved to do, so that it was worthwhile leaving my kids. So from a business standpoint, this is the only thing I've ever done that I get up in the morning and I feel like I'm making a big difference at the end of the day. And it is fun. It is fun. There's a lot of times where we make missteps, and there's a lot of days where we say 2 steps forward, 10 steps back, and it's a huge challenge, but it is a great deal of fun.
And I think for us, it's really, at Catholic Charities, it's forced us to think outside the box. Father Larry mentioned earlier how the paradigm is shifting as it relates to the payers and how we receive money, and I think this is just one way of really allowing us as an entity to really look at our operations internally, find those things that are common that we can bring to bear to market, and really, again, have a little bit of fun. So that's the other fun piece to this.
Great. I guess I would just end by saying, to me, this is all about mission. And every Catholic Charities agency that I have visited, I know people are passionate about the mission. You wouldn't be a Catholic Charities if you weren't. And what this does is give us just another avenue to really channel that passion and really have a very positive effect on the people's lives that we serve.
Thank you, Father. I'm very impressed with the diversity of approach, the diversity of thought, and the diversity of implementation with all of your programs. They are so unique to the areas that you serve, and they speak so uniquely to the people you help. So it really is a perfect marriage. And the fact that you're making money, providing jobs and job training, it's almost as close as you can get to a utopia in a social and business enterprise. So I applaud you for that, and I thank you very much for sharing all of your stories with us, because it's been fascinating and very inspirational. Thank you so much.
Thank you.